It all begins when a man called Ethan had a bad dream of when a gigantic dragon attacks his village. The injured Ethan finds his wife only for her to be disintegrated into ash. Ethan is confronted by the dragon, but just as it is about to crush him, he wakes up from his sleep in cold sweat. As his pregnant wife Oliver prepares breakfast, Ethan hugs her from behind, being relieved that none of his dreams are real. Out of nowhere, a boy called Louis visits and enjoys breakfast with them. As Ethan prepares himself to hunt, Louis pays his gratitude to Olivia not just for the food, but because she and Ethan has always treated him as a family. Fully ready, Ethan and Louis heads out into the mountains to hunt for food. Close by the forest, the two comes across two drunk soldiers enjoying themselves. Louis' bad comments about the soldiers got them angry. Even though Ethan begs for his forgiveness on his behalf, Louis' choice of words only keeps making them angry. The captain of the soldiers shows up and stops the argument between them. Louis is curious to know why his soldiers are still stationed outside the city because dragons haven't attacked their city in 100 years. But the captain replies that preparation is a necessity in life, just like how a fisherman prepares for a storm not knowing if there will be one. As Ethan and Louis finally enter the forest, Louis asks Ethan what he would do if dragons really showed up, but he rather prefers not to think about it. Louis kills an antelope with one shot, which impresses Ethan, knowing the little boy has improved a lot. Unfortunately, a rabid wolf claims their hunt. Louis aims at it, but the wolf dodges the arrow. They found themselves in a more bigger problem, where they are both surrounded by a pack of wolves. Ethan tells Louis to head back to the village and warn the people, and as well protecting Olivia. As Louis heads back to the village and informs them about the impending danger, the soldiers all prepare and arm themselves to deal with the wolves. At that moment, a dark and ominous cloud fills the sky, which made everyone really terrified upon knowing what it might be. Back at the forest, the pack of wolves that were about to attack Ethan runs away, and as he looks at the dark clouds, a gigantic dragon emerges out of it and heads to the village. Before the villagers could even do anything, the dragon already showed up and begins to attack the village. The captain and the soldiers aimed their arrows at the dragon, but it was impenetrable, making them but the captain to flee in horror. Rushing back to the village from the forest, Ethan sees his village in flames. Louis finds Olivia hiding from the dragon attacks and helps the pregnant woman back on her feet to escape the village. Ethan finds the surviving soldiers in the village and is in dismay to find out that they are the only ones who made it through from the dragon attacks. Just as the captain offers Ethan a safe place they can hide, they are all crushed by the falling rubble. Still hiding under an awning, Louis and Olivia are found by Ethan, who embraces them in relief. Now together, Louis goes to ensure if everywhere is now safe, but the dragon comes out and devours the little boy. In anger, Ethan charges towards the dragon with a sword, only to be flung backward to the wall. The dragon sees Olivia at the other side and burns her to ashes as the weak Ethan watches on the ground. Finished with its work, the dragon asks Ethan if he's filled with unbridled rage and seeks revenge against him. Ethan gives no reply, and the dragon suddenly rips his heart from his chest and swallows it. Ethan finds himself in a place that looks like the spirit world, where the spirit of Olivia apologizes for not giving him a child and disappears, saying he should not let himself to be consumed by rage as it will only ruin him the more. Ethan wakes up and in looking at the scar on his chest, he knows everything that has happened was not a dream this time around. Outside the building, he sees the whole village destroyed, and he's met by a girl who addresses him as an Arisen. The nameless girl calls herself a pawn, saying she is going to be his protector from now on. It is revealed that after the dragon attacked their village, the pawn found the body of Ethan and heals his injury on where his heart was. That's why he's still alive. Not still ready to accept his wife's death, he searches for her body, but only finds her bracelet. The dragon took everything from him, so he swears with his life to make sure the dragon dies by his hands. The pawn pledges to accompany and protect him during this quest for revenge. Ethan goes to the town's borders, where he equips himself with a soldier, a moor, and a sword. Immediately, the two begins their quest. Since the pawn has no name, Ethan decides to name her Hannah, as it belonged to his mother and would have been his child's name had it been a girl. The pawn gladly accepts the name. Sounds of a monster can be heard, and when Ethan and Hannah traces where it came from, they see a girl who is being sacrificed to a cyclop. Without any second thoughts, Ethan saves the girl from the monster's grasps and flees from its sight. After feeding her a cooked rabbit he hunted from the forest, Ethan is told on how she ended up in that situation and where her village is. As morning approaches, he returns the girl back to her village. Her mom and siblings are happy to see her alive, but her father is rather upset of the trouble he has just caused them. Their daughter was chosen as a sacrifice, which is supposed to be honored, because it's the only way to keep that monster from destroying their village. Just at that moment, three men badges into their house and threatens to report to the mayor who had once taken their daughter for the sacrifice to save the village. In order to keep their mouths shut, the father gave them the last remaining bag of food in his possession. But now the children are hungry, so Ethan offers what food he has on him, and the wife prepares it. The father tells Ethan how their soil has been buried for years that they used to hunt in the forest, but since the Cyclops came, it has become too dangerous. According to the mayor's order, every 6 months, a child must be offered for a sacrifice to the monster, and the family who brings out a child will be exempted from paying tax and will be given food to make it through winter. The food is ready, and as they all enjoy it, Ethan remembers enjoying breakfast with Louis in the past and sailing with his father. After a few moments, Ethan and Hannah meets with the mayor of that village who is busy enjoying himself in a lavish feast. Ethan expresses his anger towards the mayor who doesn't care about the people. As he goes away, he tells the mayor he is going to kill the Cyclops, which makes the mayor and his men to laugh so hard, knowing even with an army, it's impossible to kill that monster. Just when Ethan is distracted with a conversation with Hannah in the forest, the Cyclops attacks him. During the fight, the mayor shows up with his men only for Ethan to realize that the mayor has been using the Cyclops as a tool, as he believes it's quite easy to get what he wants from the people when they are filled with terror. The mayor offers him to come work for him, and he won't sacrifice him to the Cyclops. But as Ethan furiously rejected the wicked leader's request, he sends his men to attack him to make it easier for the Cyclops to get its dinner. According to Hannah, the only way to kill a Cyclops is by running your sword through its eye. Hannah uses her magic to cause fire around the monster's leg, and it falls to the ground. She passes some magic to Ethan's sword, which he uses to slay the Cyclops. The rest of the mayor's men, afraid to fight Ethan, betrays the mayor by running away. Ethan didn't decide to kill him, but will let this decision will be on his people whom he maltreated. The next morning, we see Ethan and Hannah standing at the mayor's castle, which is in flames. It is revealed that the angry people had burnt the mayor in a stake, and they all ransacked and indulged the food that was there. As the two travel far away from Casardis, Ethan is so amazed by the beauty of the surrounded area, as this is the first time he has moved out from his village, Casardis. While they walk, Ethan hears a cry for help and immediately hurries to the scene, even though Anna advises him against it. A woman called Elizabeth and her men are being attacked by hundreds of goblins. Just as the goblins tries to rape Elizabeth and her husband Theo is too afraid to stop them, Ethan shows up to her rescue. Ethan and Hannah kills as many goblins as possible while the rest of them escapes. The swordman thanks Ethan and Hannah for their help. Elizabeth hugs Ethan from behind in gratitude, making Theo really jealous. They all decided to set a camp together to rest for the night, and Ethan discovers that the swordmen were soldiers when their town was also annihilated by the dragon. Just Elizabeth and her husband Theo are the only survivors whom they swore to protect. Already witnessing how good Ethan is with a sword, they offered him to join them in their journey, but he disagrees. They are speechless when they find out his only purpose, which is finding and killing the dragon. Ethan agrees to escort them to the mountains at least before he continues with his journey. While everyone is asleep, Ethan is approached by Elizabeth with a jar of drinks and couple of cups. She tells him that she only married Theo due to his rich background, but since the dragon burnt his fortunes away, the best companion a woman needs right now is a man who can really use a sword, not a coward like Theo. It's obvious that Elizabeth is trying to seduce him. Theo sees her with him in disappointment and begs for her forgiveness for not being a man worthy of her. Elizabeth claims she won't hold her breath on that statement. Ethan sees a griffin flying in the sky and immediately alerts the men to arm themselves. The griffin flies down and devours one of their horse. Unsatisfied with the horse, it begins to attack Ethan and his group. Ethan, Hannah, Simon, and Balthazar are occupied in fighting the griffin, so Ethan tells the coward Theo to protect his wife, who is attacked by goblins. Summoning the courage, he protects his wife from the goblins, while Ethan moves forward with a plan as he allows the griffin to take him away. Hannah shoots an arrow at its belly, which gives Ethan the chance to jam his sword into the creature's back. Theo manages to fend off a swarm of goblins, and although Elizabeth is elated by this, Theo impales her with his sword. Theo claims that by doing so, she'll always be his, but with her final words, Elizabeth says he's a fool as she was always his. Balthazar then chastises Theo for his act, and thus Theo kills himself in regret. The next day, Elizabeth and Theo are given befitting burial, and later Hannah and Ethan went their separate ways from the royal guards. While moving towards the mountain where the dragon stays, they stop by a nearby village only to find it empty. They only saw a lady harvesting potatoes who told them that the villagers abandoned their homes when they heard the news of what dragons did to the nearby cities. Curious to know if there are other people around, the young lady offers Ethan and Hannah some tea by taking them to where she stays, which turns out to be a cave, which she believes offers her protection whenever the dragon attacks. Inside the cave are various huts, and the young lady mentions that a special moss is grown there that helps the village in ways. Inside one of the huts, they encounter the young lady's husband in bed with a couple of women. The young lady name is called Lenny, who has some kind of conflict with her husband, who smokes from a hookah and then falls asleep. Lenny explains that what her husband is smoking is called the moss, which creates incredibly vivid dream for the user and makes them feel like they can control them. Ethan notes that he has heard of it from a man whom he knew at Casardes. Ethan heard from the man that smoking the moss takes you to an imaginative world where life is better. You can have food, sleep, sex, and the man also claimed that all your desires can come through. But that kind of feeling comes at a price, as you will be unable to separate the dream world from reality. In reality, you will forget to eat and sleep for days until you actually die. Lenny tells them that the mayor of this village was the one who discovered the moss, and to begin to gain fortune from it, he had his subordinates to build a village there. But when the news of the dragon broke out, all the soldiers and most of the villagers ran away. As for the villagers who stayed, their reason is that they were born there and have no talents to survive the outside world. So they stay there and continue to harvest and sell the moss. Not wanting to waste any more time, Ethan and Hannah set out to continue their journey to the mountains, only to be told by Lenny that where they want to go has no passage. She suggests an alternative passage for them, which is deep within the cave. Deep inside the cave, they too see a bridge. As they begin to walk across it, they are attacked by a four-headed monster, which Hannah reveals to be called the Hydra. During the fight, Ethan manages to cut off one of the head of the creature, but Hannah says it's a waste of time, and they both watch the head of the creature grow back. The Hydra attacks the village in the cave. Lenny tries to save her husband from the creature, but ended up in the monster's stomach. Ethan and Hannah are able to save some villagers and escorts them to safety outside the cave. Yang, the husband of Lenny, is distraught and remorseful over Lenny's sacrifice to save his life, although he hasn't been a good husband to her. The Hydra is what stands in his way from getting to the dragon, so Ethan and Hannah returns back to the cave to kill the Hydra. The Hydra was so impossible for them to take down on their own, and Hannah is crushed in the process. The courageous Yang shows up to distract the Hydra to save Ethan, who goes to check on Hannah. Finding out she is no longer breathing, his anger grows out of limit. Ethan's eyes turns red and some godly skills is triggered, which he used to kill the creature in seconds. Hannah returns from the dead and she explains that pawns cannot be killed. The belly of the monster opens and Lenny comes out of it covered with the creature's fluid. Yang apologizes for his attitude towards her, but furthermore, it is revealed that Lenny is now completely blind. Elsewhere, two men enter a church to avoid the rain, where they're killed by a lich that's protecting a hoard of gold in the church basement. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.
And that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more awesome content from Cartoon Crunch, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Let me know in the comments what your favorite part of the show was, or if there's a cartoon you'd like me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and until next time.